Hey, everybody, it's another edition. This is the Preferred Lines podcast, broadcasting live each and every Monday evening with my friend over there. That is Joe Idone. He's at Tour Picks on Twitter. And like you could do, you can like this, subscribe to this, get those notifications from YouTube to know that when we go live, you will be there with us to chat along. And you can do that on the side. You can chat. And we also have brought on a guest, Travis Fulton. A real person with, here to give stuff away. Before we get to you, Travis, thank you for joining us. We have to get to the Jock Market. It is probably my favorite thing on my phone at this point. I love it. Did pretty decent last week. I saw you were up there too, Joe, for a second. And then you were bragging a little bit about having some Tringali shares.
Yeah, the Tringali shares on Jock Market go a lot further than the Tringali outright tickets lately. Because if he finishes third, you still get paid. So it worked out. Sam Burns was the big winner last week. Chad, you and I both 80-1. Congrats, buddy. Cheers to that. Travis, did you have any Sam Burns last week?
No, I didn't have Sam, but I know all about him. That's for sure. But I didn't.
In your heart.
Yeah. Congrats.
I had Sam Burns on Jock Market. You can have these guys on Jock Market that don't end up winning, that don't end up doing the best ever, and you still make money. So that's kind of fun. So try that out. And we do have the promo code Joe PL10. Allows you $10 off your first deposit. We'll pump your account with $10 more. So do that. All right. Absolutely. Enough of that. Let's get to our guest tonight. It is Travis Fulton. You can see the big TF if you're watching on YouTube. And we're going to have him now. What is up with you, Travis? You've got Billy Horschel this week? Are you kidding me? I'm so jealous.
Stripe Show podcast. Billy Horschel coming up on Wednesday, which will be a lot of fun. Of course, he's a champion this year and has a lot of thoughts on a lot of things. So it'll be fun to catch up with him on Wednesday. And then Dr. Brett McCabe actually on Thursday, who's his sports psychologist. And also is the sports psychologist to Sam Burns. So very fitting to have him on Thursday.
Nice. Well, great.
Very
awesome.
Cool.
So now give us a little background of who you are, but the people that are watching or listening to this probably are familiar with you. You instruct golf and you have, is it an app?
Well, I have, my trade is teaching. I've been in the instruction coaching business for 20 years. And then I moved into the media side about 7 years ago. I worked for Golf Channel for about 4 years. And then after that, I just said, you know what, I'm going to do it on my own. Started Travis Fulton Golf on the social sites and off we've went now for the better part of 2.5 years. So instruction's my trade, but I love the fantasy golf space. I love golf gambling. So I've kind of ventured into that as well with a couple different shows. So it's been a good balance and fun for me because I like talking golf, but I like talking the gambling side as well. So it's fun to break the tournaments down every week.
Cool. Well, we do the front nine segment. If we have a guest on, we'll try to keep you for about 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. We're going to go through a bunch of questions before we get to the betting board for the Wells Fargo Championship. We're going to talk to you quickly about your instructional stuff and just about you a little bit. So here we go. Joe, you want to start us off with the questions?
Yeah, I got a question for you, Travis. So the past year, right, been a little weird scenario, I'm sure, for you in the teaching and instruction business. How has that effect been with you? Have you gone to a lot more of these virtual lessons and stuff like that? Tell us what that's been like.
Golf has really taken off. It was kind of the one thing that you could do for the most part across the country outside. Of course, I live in Florida, so our governor kind of kept things open here and moving. Golf, of course, we had a lot of restrictions and things in place that you needed to do, but it kept going, and people have played in record rounds as far as the number of golf people who are in the sport now and actively playing, but then people who used to be in the sport now coming back to it. So there's been an influx of that as well with newer players. So I tell you, golf, from a recreational standpoint has benefited to some degree. And, if there's a silver lining to COVID, it's certainly that. Now the PGA Tour and losing money to fans is certainly hemorrhaging some money. They need to get the fans back and get that consistent. But as far as people enjoying the game, eyeballs on the game, I think we're seeing an uptick here. And as far as instruction, I mean, I was kind of out in front with some other teachers with the Skillest app and, ready to take on this virtual training, and having online training programs, which we're giving away here, where people can kind of do it at their pace and do it at home. And, they don't have enough time to go to the course. So there's been certainly an uptick in virtual lessons, online lessons. And, but just overall, I just think that the sport is really in a great spot right now as hopefully we start to get back to some normalcy.
Absolutely. So if you are not following us on Twitter, you should do that at Preferred Lines. And if you want to right now, you can get a chance to win access to Travis's system. It's like $100, we'll just round up. It's about $100 giveaway. We're doing 2 of them. Okay. Yeah. At the end of the pot, you need to retweet what you're watching right now. And then Joe's going to write your name down, or we're going to figure out how to draw and make it fair. But at the end, tell us what we're giving away exactly.
Well, it's so there's 84 videos in total. What's interesting
84?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So what's interesting is these are online training programs, and there's 4 in particularly that do really well. People love them. And one of them is called the Total Driving Program. It's 10 videos. You do it in order. So it's like taking an online course, basically. I want you to start here and then finish here. So the people love the driving program. They love the iron game program. And then the one that's probably the most popular is a program called Operation Baby Draw, which is learning how to hit a little draw. That's
you
the
mean you
number
don't just turn
one
your wrists
training
and
program
close the club
right
face
now.
and smash it?
Yeah, that's the number one training program. It might be the number one online training program in the country right now, just from a 10 video standpoint, start here, in here. So people like that. And then of course the short game one is the other. So they, learning all the different short game shots. So it's cool. There's a lot of other supporting videos, things you can do at home, drills, best practices, 84 videos, do it at your pace and, consume it how you want. And you kind of start here, in here, you come out, you're driving it better, iron plays better, short game's better. And then of course from there, the ones that really want to take it serious, then they want to send me videos and they want to do an online, more individual session, which makes sense after you do those videos, those training programs.
So you do those additionally?
Yeah, that's kind of the second piece of it is those that, they do the training programs. They're like, gosh, now I want him to take a look at this. And,
okay.
So they film themselves, from face on and target line, and they send those in through the app. And then I can give them more specific things to do and then reference back to the videos that way. So it's effective. I've got hundreds of people doing it across the country and world, really. I've got, people in Asia sending me stuff and Europe. And I mean, it's crazy. The reach. I mean, the internet is worldwide, baby. So
there's a reason, Travis, is because everybody wants to get better at golf because
that's
golf
right.
is hard. And as a 10 or 12 handicap, now I'm definitely going to download it and I'm going to go through the 80 videos. Hell yeah, that's going to take me a while, but I'll do it. But to get better at golf this summer. But if you wanted to give one piece of advice to a 10 or 12 or 14 handicap guy that's coming out shooting 95s on a regular, getting into the 80s every once in a while, what's the one piece of advice?
Well, that's tough. I mean, I think number one, I think you got to tilt, you got to get your head behind the ball. Number one, get a little side bend to the right. And then I think learning to turn your trail hip, your right hip, like turn your right hip kind of back behind you in the backswing and lose some flexion in your trail knee. So many people don't turn their hip. They're turning their shoulders. They don't turn their hip. So you got to turn your right hip if you're a right-handed player. And then, at the end of the day, this lead wrist, you got to flex it at some point. So that's flexed or bowed, that's extended, or cupped. At some point, you got to get that thing like that. So most players in the modern game, you look at like Victor Hovland and you look at DJ and you look at Morikawa and JT and like they, that's where they are at the top. They're pretty flat. They keep it flexed and then they just turn and hit it. You don't see very much of that in the modern game. Stuart Sink, he's kind of he's kind of sticking it to us right now because he's got a lot of extension in his lead wrist, and then he swivels it at the bottom. You don't teach that. You got to be really gifted, like a Sink, like a Mickelson. That's kind of their era of how they used to hit it. So anyway, turn your right hip, flex your lead wrist, let it go, baby, just like DJ.
Boom. These are the things that you see that we don't see. I've never looked at Stuart Sink's wrist before, but listen, when we're trying to predict this stuff, right, Travis, it's hard, man. So you can kind of see things, I think, with your eyes and watching these guys swing from week to week. But what sort of stats or trends are you looking for when you're trying to isolate, okay, I think this makes a good pick this week?
Well, I've learned a lot from you guys. I've watched your guys' stuff. I've always liked the fantasy space, and I would say I'm fairly new to it in comparison to, your guys' experience. I certainly bring that golf background from instruction and coaching, knowing all the coaches, knowing some of the players, the caddies, familiar with the courses. My time at Golf Channel certainly helped me with some of that. But I think from a statistical analysis and really trying to formulate what's important and what isn't, when you're looking at it from a raw statistic standpoint and how that might vary from course to course, right? Some courses, what's really interesting to me is through this journey is how low strokes game around the green and the value of that when you look historically at some of these courses. For example, we're going to play Quail Hollow, and you look at it in the course breakdown at Fantasy National, which I know you guys use some, and you see the value of that and where that is in comparison to a strokes gain approach, a strokes gain putting, a strokes gain off the tee. At least in my eyes, it's down there as number 4, of importance as you start looking down the kind of player that you're looking at. Now, you can't be a dog, of course, around the green. But if you were to bring that conversation up inside the studio at Golf Channel, you start talking about that with former players, like, oh man, short game is important. You got to have a short game to play the tour. No one's denying that, right? You got to have a short game. Yeah. But when you look at it, the best players in the world, strokes gain approach dominates, right? You have to have a ball striker. You got to win in the approach game. And of course, the distance we know plays into that. I think this week in how distance can be certainly it can be kind of pushed down a little bit at certain courses, but then others, of course, it has a bigger advantage. I think like this week, it has a bigger advantage. Like no one's hitting these fairways. So just go ahead and take your driver and let it out like you are at the US Open, right? It's kind of has that, at least in my eyes, that similar feel. So I think it's interesting to see the distance and where it might weigh in more than others. We know it's important. We know that it has value every week, but certain weeks it's pushed down because it forces a DJ's hand to lay up. So I think that's really interesting. And for me to look at that and weigh that out. And then of course, strokes gain putting and just seeing the trends of the players who do well in Bermuda versus Bent and POA and how those splits work, and because, you look at a Sam Burns, it's no secret to why Sam Burns, has putted so well in Bermuda, in particularly really fast Bermuda, like we saw last week, and we're going to see again this week. So I'm always looking at some of those things. There's others. I love the opportunities gained statistic in the Fantasy National and kind of weighing that out. But just kind of, for me, I think this year and even towards the end of last, I'm probably a full year into this and just kind of setting my model based off of some of these statistics and then going back and saying, gosh, did I get it right or did I get it wrong? And where were the misses as I kind of go through what I feel like is my rookie season? But makes no mistake, strokes gain approach, man, and you better be able to win there, because if you can't, you're going to have a hard time keeping your card on the PGA Tour.
True. Now let's go past the strokes gain stuff then, and you can maybe speak to this for human beings that you work with and that are just amateur normal people, and maybe this applies to pros as well. There are guys that are currently outside the top 60 in the world that are playing this week. They're motivated to get inside of that top 60 in the world and get the invitation to the PGA Championship in a couple of weeks. Do you believe, Travis, in motivation beyond the stats on paper? Can a guy just want it more? Does somebody show up to you and you can tell that this dude is coachable? and this dude wants to grind. Where this guy has the natural talent, but this guy's not grinding, and he doesn't care. Can you see this in real life?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, I really do. I mean, Rory comes to mind. You know, I mean, like Rory can coast and finish top 20. You know, we know that. Like he can be uninterested and finish top 20. DJ looks uninterested a lot. You know, I think these guys are humans, you know, and, you know, I think we know what their strengths and weaknesses are for the most part and what courses are going to apply. But then I think there is that motivation side and the human aspect of it. John Rahm's going through it right now. Wait till, you know, he starts losing sleep from his kid, you know, for 1 straight week or 2 straight weeks. You know, those are the things that
the kid hasn't gotten teeth yet. Teething. Holy crap.
Those are the things that start to happen and factor in. The other thing that's interesting in kind of bringing this to the table is just seeing the improvement of players and it when it starts and being so close to some of these teachers. For example, you know, I think Max Homa is a better player now than he was in 2019 when he won here.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, I mean, his improvement since the U.S. Open, since working with Mark Blackburn, is incredible, and you could kind of see it starting. Charlie Hoffman's another one who I think is playing some of the best golf he's ever played. You know, he's 10 yards longer, his approach game's better, his putting's a little bit better. So you can start seeing like some of these when these coaches move around different teachers and they get good matchups, you can start to see some of the trends starting to happen and maybe get out in front of that a little bit with a Hoffman. With a Max Homa who is playing some great golf, and a Cam Smith is another one who I think is playing some of the best. I think he's playing the best golf that he's ever played right now. So I think there is some factors that you have to take into consideration that you can maybe get out in front of a little bit. Mm-hmm. But also it's just hard to measure. Is this dude interested right now or not? For example, Patrick Cantlay, what the hell is going on with him right now? Mm-hmm.
Something's in his head. I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Maybe some strokes gained home life is a little bit off for Patrick Cantlay right now, but something's up. I want to ask you about some other guys at the top of the board this week, Travis. Specifically, I want to ask you about Justin Thomas because when I was on your show a couple weeks ago, we had spoken about Colin Morikawa, and he was in there was something going on with him on the greens, and like the putting wasn't there, but we've seen him. He's like you mentioned before, he's such a good approach player. He's such a good iron player that when he can putt like level with the field, he can win. Yeah. JT coming off one of the worst putting performances he can remember. Are these guys just able to sort of shake that and just show up the next week and say, different greens, different course, it's out of my head? Or does stuff like that you think linger a little bit with these guys?
I think it does linger with some. I don't think it lingers with JT though. I really don't. Okay. I think JT is no question the streakiest putter amongst the best players. There's no question.
No doubt.
And it's funny because you go back to the coaching realm here. He worked with a guy by the name of Matt Killen for a long time, switched to a guy by the name of John Graham. And the main point was to try to understand what was different between +5 and -6. And I had John on my podcast, and we actually talked about it on the Stripe Show podcast. And it was pretty interesting, some of the things that he was getting into. I don't think they've quite whittled that down yet after watching him last week. I don't think it really weighs on JT. I do think it's weighing a little bit on Colin. It just feels like the floor, when Colin struggles, it just feels different. You know, it looks very forced, and I don't want to say it's yippish, but it's, it just looks very, it doesn't look like he's going to make the putt at all. Where JT, it looks like it's full commit. He hits it and it's like, I can't hit my ass right now. I'm just having a bad tournament. So, I think it does affect some more than others. Like I think there's more of a lingering effect with Rory. When we see some of his struggles, I think there's a lingering effect with a Finau, although I think he's putting better overall. I don't think there's a lingering effect with like a Patrick Reed, for example. I think he's able to brush it off. DJ, we've seen him struggle. I think he's able to brush it off. I mean, DJ will just switch putters mid-round if he could. So I think everybody's a little different in the net effect, but JT, my goodness. I mean, the hole can look like this big or there's no hole at all. I mean, it's amazing the wide range you see from Sawgrass to what we saw last week.
What about our guy? Like you just said, Finau, he switched his putter. He's got some different grip or whatever. You might know better than I know about that kind of thing. I just use the same grip I've been using since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
Same time, Finau and Xander are up at the top of the board here, but can we bet them to win? Are they due to win? So therefore, maybe it's time.
I'm going to pass on both of those guys. Finau to win, just my goodness, like that isn't even. It just seems like a foreign language anymore. I mean, just saying that. I'm worried about Finau. I had Damon Hack, you mentioned on the pod on Monday, and he said we picked two guys on who you worried about into the summer, and he said Finau. He said, I just think this is going to have to start to have a little bit of an effect on him. Like, he should have won Phoenix. He should have won the Genesis. Like. Yeah. He's not stepping up.
They should have won the team play thing with Champ. I mean, they could have won that.
He's not stepping up and hitting the shots in situational golf like he needs to. He should have 2 or 3 wins. I think it's gonna weigh on him, especially with all these talented players. I would pass. Xander, at least here, he hasn't shown a lot of form on this golf course. T72, 2018. He was 3rd at the Masters. He looked good there. I just still have a lot of questions for Xander. You start seeing like every part of your game kind of whittling down a little bit. You're like, God, what's going on there? He's kind of struggling. It's not just one particular part of his game. It seemed to be a little bit of everything there, but he did play well at the Masters. I am going to wait on him and probably, lean a little bit more towards like a Bryson in this higher range who has the firepower, and a Jon Rahm, who I think is my favorite in the top. I think John's due. You used the word due. I think John's the one that's
sure. John's probably due too. Shit.
A little chilly putter, and I think is starting to show some signs. 5th at the Masters, 9th at the Players. I like Jon Rahm at this venue. He was 4th when he played back in 2017, so why not?
Well, we know Rahm is a night nurse. Like, come on.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
not waking up.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Rahm doesn't really strike me as the night nurse kind of guy.
Yeah, so actually now maybe we don't want Rahm because he's like, no, I'm full on giving every bottle, doing it all. I'm Jon Rahm. I'll do it myself. I don't know. Joe, what do you think?
I don't know about the night nurse.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see how he plays this week. But he's due, man. I think I was listening to Rick the other day, and he's like, 60% of his starts on the PGA Tour, he's top 10, which is unbelievable to even think of. How he just seamlessly ends up, even at the Masters, just inside the top 10 with ease. What about, we've kind of seen Travis, we like to bet kind of the middle of the board, right? Like 30 to, let's say, 60 to 1. We've kind of found is a little bit of a sweet spot. Joaquin Niemann's in there, Will Zalatoris, a couple of guys I like. Who kind of sticks out in that range to you this week?
I think Niemann's trending. I really do. I like Niemann. I think I would like to see him get a little bit more out of his hot putter there. I think he's really had some good putting rounds, really good putting rounds. Positive 5.5 at Valspar. He finished 8th. He needs to get that driver back. And I feel like Niemann drives the ball like we saw early in the year. What was it? Sony. He finished 2nd at Sony. He finished 2nd at Tournament of Champions too. And I had a win ticket. I'm on at Sony, and Kevin Na got him, right?
Yeah, Kevin
Na got him. So he needs to drive the ball like that. He drives the ball like that, positive 5.6. I think Niemann's there.
Well, he is long, Travis, and I was watching him play with JT and DJ last week, and he was pounding it past them on a couple of holes with driver, which is surprising. Like when I see his swing in like the spine angles and the flexibility, like, do you see an issue there potentially with sustainability, or is that just a young kid who's just freewheeling and just going after the thing?
Well, what you see is a young kid, yes.
Yeah.
But you see at some point he's going to have to get rid of a little bit of that as he gets older. The amount of, kind of drop and spine kind of dropping down and to the right. I think in time he'll have to probably get a little stronger and get rid of a little bit of that from a lasting effect. But he is long. I mean, he can bust it and he can get his driver going. And I'm just really encouraged, I think, by the rest of the game, that if he can just kind of be a little bit more like he usually is off the tee, why not? I think this could be a decent spot for him. My eyes keep going back to Brian Harman, who's won here, in that middle range. And I think Brian Harman just kind of seems like he's really at peace, playing some really consistent, good golf. He likes it here. When he won here, he was probably like positive 2, 3 across the board and all the major stats. The way he's hitting it, 13th at the RBC, 12th at the Masters. He was an absolute bulldog in the match play. He's playing good. I mean, he just seems like he's really in charge of what's happening right now with his game. I mentioned Dr. Brett McCabe. He also works with Brian Harman. And I just feel like Brian Harman right now knows that he's good enough. Like, he doesn't have to do anything different. He may need just to have a couple things fall his way. Perhaps he needs to have that positive 6 putting week, positive 7 putting week, like we've seen here from Max Homa, who, when he won, it was like positive 9.5 or something, just ridiculous, right? I think it was the best putting week he's ever had. Like, you kind of feel like Harmon's just kind of that kind of week away, like it's all there. If he can just get a little bit more mojo, I think, with the putter, which hasn't been bad. He just needs to make a few more. So, my eyes kind of go there, and I'm kind of a sucker for Griot. I was on him last week. He let me down, shoots 5 under on Thursday, and then looks like he's never played golf in his life on the back 9 on Friday.
Why is that? Why do golfers just lose it, Travis? Is this a real thing that, like, how the hell is this happening?
I don't know. Like, that one absolutely baffled me last week.
I
sounded like the smartest guy in the world with Griot on Thursday, and then it sounded like I've never even watched him play golf before on Friday. I mean, it's like he played the par 5s 3 over on the back. It's like, what? Like, what?
Yeah, he just lost his iron.
Like, what just happened there?
You said. I wanted to ask you quick. This came into my head now. You just mentioned Neiman's back and it's his weird swing. There's a couple other guys that we're fans of. This is like a pro Matt Wolf podcast, and he's got that little.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going away ever, or is he going to do this till he's 45?
No, that's his swing. It always has been. He's a young kid. He's always had that. He's never. He started that preset when he started working with George Gankis, but.
Right. Like 16 or whatever.
As far as that really interesting vertical swing going back and then that big drop, he's always done that. Always.
So that's just a Jim Furyk guy forever.
Well, the difference between Furyk and Wolf is, Furyk gets his lead, or Furyk picks his lead arm straight up. Like, it is, first off, Furyk stands closer to the ball than anybody in the history of the game.
Right.
I watch Furyk hit a lot because where I teach here is where he's a member, and he'll come back and post up right next to me. Okay.
You're like, you're too close. Guys.
It's called the course is called Pablo Creek. It's here in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And here, I'll tell you a story real quick. He literally will come up and start hitting, and he'll be 2 or 3 spots down or just right there. He's right there. It's Jim Furyk, right? Super nice guy. And my members, they're hitting their, you can tell they're aware. And then Furyk will turn, and their short game is behind, and there's flags all over the place. And like every 15 minutes, you'll hear you'll hear the ball just bang against the flag. Boom! Just, awesome. I mean, like 70 yards hits the flag. Like every 15 minutes. It's like, God, this is like intimidating,
Oh man,
this guy is so good. It's unbelievable.
What about Sung Jae? His slow, and then he goes. Is that thing that an amateur, should I try doing that?
No. Well, I mean, it's like a deliberate can be helpful for some if you're very quick. But that's pretty exaggerated. Sanjay's very exaggerated in as far as the pacing
on purpose.
Tempo.
Like that helps him somehow.
I think a lot of the Asian descent players are very deliberate. You watch like NB Park and
for sure,
they're just very deliberate people.
They just do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it kind of gets slower and slower in time going back. So I think you see that more from them. But, on Sungjae, I told Skylar today, I said, I'll never play Sungjae again. I don't care if he's 10,000 or 4,000.
Shit. Why?
Because
we love him.
I know. I do too, but I'm just like, I can't get on the right side of him as late. The dude is like crazy golf. Like, I mean, he's nuts. Like what he does out there on the golf course. And 8,800, I passed on him. It was a joke. Okay. I said, I just can't get on the right side.
No, I hear you. I know what you're saying, but you got to put him on the never play list. You can put the people
There's always got to be one, right? I mean, there's got to be a little emotion involved to some degree.
Gotta be. It's got to be fun. It's got to be fun at the end of the day. Well, listen, we kept you a little longer than we thought. We appreciate your time, Travis. I've got probably 30 names here in a hat. I wrote down everyone who's retweeted today, any of the tweets. Should we pick a couple people for the lessons?
Yeah.
Old school hat pull here.
I love it.
Drum roll.
All right. We have at Jeremy Hartle.
Jeremy Hartle.
Can't see my chicken scratch. Jeremy Hartle. We'll make sure we dial all this in for you, Travis.
Now,
we'll get you all
I do
info.
a podcast with Fantasy Golf Pod. It's with a friend of mine named Eric Martins, and I was giving him shit on the internet earlier today. I was tweeting about how he's left-handed, and that's a shame. But he's like, I got to retweet this thing. I'm like, you should be retweeting our stuff every week, jerk. Instead,
Come on, Quaggus.
Travis Fulton and
It's the only week he tunes in. All right, I got my other name here. Okay. It is Matt James Kane. He's a big supporter of us. He helps us out a lot. Matt, you got yourself the lessons package. Jeremy, you got yourself that as well. We'll make sure we get your guys' info over to Travis. Travis, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck this week, man. We appreciate you coming on. It was a ton of fun.
Guys, love watching it, and thanks for having me on. Keep the you got all this money in the pot from Burns, so you guys got money to spend here this week.
That's right.
You have to stay tuned. We're about to get to the betting board and figure out where we're going to spend it. Travis, you can follow him at Twitter at Travis Fulton. He's got a big Instagram following too. You can find him on there doing giveaways, for golf, and it's great. We're so thankful for you. So thank you for coming on and just giving money to our listeners.
You bet.
Lacing them.
Happy to do it.
Hopefully they get better at golf using your lessons. So Travis, we'll definitely look for that Billy Horschel podcast.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be a good one. Yeah,
for sure. He's the man,
and
he's such a good interview too. He's like, he's a thoughtful guy.
Thursday's like one of the smartest dudes in the game.
All right, so we'll find that podcast. That's plug it again.
Stripe Show podcast.
Stripe Show podcast on your regular podcast platforms. Go find that.
Stripe Show. Go find it. It's on iHeart. It's on Apple. And you watch actually the video version. There's on the video version now on my YouTube channel too. So you can check those out.
Boom. If you're on YouTube, you can find him there. Thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you later. Come on anytime.
Okay.
For real.
All right. I'll see you next week.
Same time, bud.
You won't want to. All right. See you, Travis. Thanks, dude. Peace out, Travis. That's Travis Fulton. We're getting to the betting board. Sorry, we took a while, but that was fun. I mean, he brought some good content.
Yeah, man, he's plugged in up there. He knows all these guys' coaches, so it was good to get the first person we've had on here who's really into the instruction side. We all look at things. We're looking into these stats, and he's looking at wrist angles and slow-mo. So he's it's just a different approach, which is what we usually try to bring when we have guests on that front nine segment. We try to, get people in all different realms to see if it floats your boat.
Okay, Joe.
Let's talk.
I've been waiting. I was respectful. I was respectful to Travis. I just had a Coors Light while Travis was on it. I'm going to go with my heavier beer. This is an IPA. It's a Surly Brewing Company IPA, Furious to be exact. It is a delicious beer. It is now time to pop open the betting board, Joe. And at the tip top, there's a pair of guys. Whoops. This is showing the screen on YouTube. It is Justin Thomas and it is John Rahm. And they're at 9 or 10 to 1, depending on the book you're looking at. We're looking at this sports book brought to you by DraftKings.com. If you have a sports book that you want us to look at and sponsor and show it while we do the podcast, hit us up. But we're doing this one for fun because it's green. It matches our colors. Buy a T-shirt, by the way. Anyway, Justin Thomas or John Rahm or even Bryson. Any interest at the three at the top, the three amigos?
I think they're all pretty fair prices this week. You could make a case for any of them. JT, just incredible ball striking week, couldn't putt. Coming back to a place he likes, it seems like it could be like an autoplay JT week, and he's 11-1. So if you're like that, he's 9-1 there. Okay, I'm looking at 11. But like, I see Rahm at 11 also. So same. Go ahead.
Dude, I don't want to do 9-1. I know Justin Thomas probably will win, and this will be the week that burns us all, and we don't like these weeks because we prefer to make a little bit more money off of our $5 than you got to put $45. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, I just think it's a fair price. If they're both 11-1, they're usually both under that in a major field. So I think that if there's cases to be made for either one of them, I went the next spot up. I took Bryson at 16-1.
Okay. Yep.
That was my first, my really only bet inside of 30 thus far that I took. I just looked at everything. I saw your tweet earlier today. I saw everyone else's articles touting driving distance matters. I saw some comps to Winged Foot here where even like Travis mentioned, nobody's hitting the fairway, right? It's not necessarily important here. It's how far that you can pound it down there. You've got the closing 3-hole stretch, the Green Mile. So I think that all of his advantages are in play here. Played pretty well here last time around. He did not have a good Sunday and ended up 2 off the lead. I believe he lost by 2. So decent course history as well. I think it's a good week to get back on Bryson. Look, it seems like he might not be playing well, but 4 starts ago, he won at Bay Hill. 3 starts ago, he was like second at the Players. So he's right there, man. He just had a bad Masters week. So I'm all fine with getting back on Bryson at 16-1, which is a bigger number that we see him in these type of fields.
Okay. I think you do need to go to the top of the board. I think you want to build your card around the best names, and I'm going to start my card with Xander.
Interesting. Okay, give me a Xander take this week.
Okay, so the thing is, Joe, I really did think that Xander would have a win by now. I thought it'd be right a couple weeks into the season, and we're checking the Xander's already won. That box is checked. He's an elite player, top 5 in the world. Yada yada. That didn't happen. I was nervous that it was going to happen. I think it was the Waste Management Phoenix Open. I don't know which tournament it was, but he was close, and I was like, shit. I knew it, and I was mad. But then he didn't end up coming through. So I feel like out of the Masters it's a new set. It's a new season-ish kind of feel to me. So I feel like he's approaching it the same way, where I feel like he was going to come out of the break of 2021, into the season and just come out the gates firing. I'm thinking that's going to be this week. That's the case for this time because he's angry. I think he's pissed. One of the best golfers of all, on tour easily, has the game to compete at Quail Hollow. Someone that, again, 18-1, I'm kind of betting a little bit of the number here. I just feel like he's kind of on the same level as the other guys. I mean, yes, of course, they're ranked in there for a reason, JT, Rahm, Bryson, Xander. But at the same time, if I can get the money I can get off of the 18-1, I like that a little bit. So I'm going to go with that. Feels fair.
Yeah, it does feel like a fair number. I actually feel like he kind of should be in the 20s, to be honest with you.
Well, he should because he's Xander. He never wins. Hello. 2
points less for Bryson to me is worth paying up. Look, I've looked a little bit more like short term here because a lot of it, when you look at the stats and you build your models, you have the Masters where you're not gonna have strokes gain stats. You have, some the Zurich, so that you're really pulling, if you go like 36 rounds out, really old form at this point. You don't have stats from the match play either. But Xander, look, off the tee, 67th, ball striking 61st recently. Like, that's terrible. Bryson's first in off the tee, third in ball striking. So it's 2 points less on the odds board, 16-1 versus 18. I think it's worth paying up for Bryson.
Well, so I talked about this on the First Look podcast I did. I've been preaching this for a long time, that part of it is that the candle can only burn for so long, and the candle burns the brightest only for a little bit before it goes out. So you have these moments where I feel like in the flow and the ebbs of the season, maybe Bryson had his moment and now he's dipping down, and then Xander's turn to go. So like, I'm just trying to time it. I mean, that's just kind of, I know. Like, I'm like looking at a crystal ball. Like clearly, yes, Bryson has the stats. The course fits a bomber that could bomb it around here. Bryson could run away with it. I wouldn't be shocked at all. But at the same time, I have the same gut instinct feeling about the Xander play because he's so close and due. I don't know.
The talent level's there. There's no question about it. You have it.
Sure.
He's not the 61st or 67th player in the field. I get what you're saying, and you've got to plant your flag. And if you've got a gut feeling, play it.
Yeah. So I don't want to miss a Xander win. I don't want to do that, and I'll feel tilted about it. So I don't care if Bryson wins, whatever. I don't really give a shit. But if Xander wins and I'm not on it, I'll be mad. Let's go to the 20s though. Well, do we want to talk about Rory at all? I don't really need to talk about Rory, but
I can't bet him this week. No. I'm not going to be upset if you do. Something's off, and it's the off the tee game has just been terrible, frankly. Travis talked about it when I was on with him that chasing distance was the worst thing he could have done, and it's messed up his swing. Like when he has, like, you can see a noticeable, like, he slow mode his swing like a year ago to now, and it's totally forced in. He's trying to get something more out of it. And it's really messed up is not even so much the driver. It's messed up his iron play because parts of that, trickle down into other parts of your game. He's just not playing good. But if there was ever a get right spot for Rory, it would be going back to a place that he's had a ton of success in Quail Hollow right before he goes into a PGA championship at Kiowa where he's won before. So like, this has got to be that spot in the calendar that he's had, green lighted for a while and said, I got to get right here. These are my spots. These is where I'm going to get my wins. I just wish he was in better form.
And I mean form with the driver, because that's what's made him perform well here. Because you saw the stat. I mean, it was like 300 yard drives. He's 100 more 300 yard drives than anybody else on this course. So Rory loves to bomb it around here. But will he be just annoyed because he's not bombing it to where he wants to because driver sucks, right? Oh, maybe. So maybe you don't do Rory. You go to the 20s, and that's where I went. And like I said, I'm going with the top of the board for my card. I'm going to use Hovland. He's at 20, whatever on this book. And I like him. I mean, he's at 20. You got Webb there. You got Tony Finau, and I'm also betting Tony Finau. I think he's due. So I'm using Xander, Hovland, and Finau. I'm going heavy at the top of the card. It's weird. Any interest in the 20s?
I see what you're saying about Finau. Should be a great setup for him. I'm just not there with him. Hovland the same. I
feel like it's calling a shot. I know. It's weird.
I know. You're calling your shot with Xander and Finau now.
Well, get ready. It's a theme this week, Joe.
In Hovland, it's kind of, to me, just, I don't know that he's ever really... Okay, so it seems like he's always there, like top fiving everything. But is he really there? I don't know how to really say that, but I just mean like last week he was third and he made his run, but he was never, like, there was never a threat that he was winning that thing. It was a two-man race. And this is
golfers do that. Rahm does this. People do this. Where they're always there.
Rahm wins like big time tournaments. Like Victor's won the Mayakoba and the Puerto Rico Open. Like, show me where he's really shown up on a stage. And he's so young, so I'm getting on him, and it's not really fair to him because he hasn't had enough starts. But I just want to see him. Like, I see his number is reflecting the amount of top fives he's getting in top tens because the books want to protect themselves in those markets. I don't feel like a 20-1 really encapsulates his win equity. And I think a lot of people, frankly, and I didn't bet any of these guys for the record yet, but I think a lot of people are kind of glossing over Webb this week. Member here, lives on the course. Like, I just feel like he's kind of being overlooked when you're looking at Hovland and Finau right there with him. Like, Webb's win equity is much higher.
Sure. It was in the past. So I'm only looking at the fact that Hovland his like bad weeks are fucking amazing. So like, that's kind of where it will take one time where he clicks it all together and Hovland is winning by 4 and everyone's like, no shit, he's good. Whatever, he's 10th in the world.
And so that's probably what happened.
Yeah. So, and then I feel like with Webb, did he peak? did it come last summer, and it's all downhill from there. So I personally don't want that to be the case with Webb. I feel like I thought that the players, boom, let's go, Webb. Here you go. Boom, bad, terrible. So then, okay, fine. Rust, shitty, whatever, I don't care. Masters, let's go. Not great. So then, where have you been, Webb? Let's go. Let's see you doing the things that you had been doing with the putter that got you to the 10th player in the world. So I don't know. I'm not on Webb. I'd rather again, I'm just trying to get Tony Finau when he is on a bomber narrative course. Putter's not necessarily the best or that needs to be the best. So maybe he can do it. I don't know. It's time to do it. So then let's go with the guys on my card that are due to win. And Joe, there's another name, and it might be in the 30s on your book, but it is a 35-1. Okay, but we'll start. Okay, let's just go through the names of the 30s. Cantlay, 30. 30 for Cantlay. Is this the dip? Anyway, 30 for Reed, too. Zalatoris, 30. Corey Connors, 33. You got Answer, 35. Neiman, 35. Tringali, 35. And that's another name. I was able to find it at a higher number, but I'm doing that too. You can only win your first time one time. And how fun would it be if I can bet it? And I know it's 35-1, and I know that there's a reason why it's 35-1. Which
you have got a card full of top 5 studs this week who never win.
Let's get one of them. Come through for me. Let's do it. I'm excited about it. So I'm going with I definitely did Neiman too. So I'm pushing to the top of the board, but I'm going with the guys that #motivation week. Charlie R. Now, we're going with motivation to get it, to put it on your Wikipedia page, to do that tally. Boom, get it, done. And dude, why not? Tringali here now, sort of picked up driver distance in the last couple of years on tour.
For sure.
Tringali's a nice guy. He loves Jesus and helping volunteer and stuff. So I'm in. Let's go. Losers. Could be winners.
A lot of losers. What I'll say here, and the biggest thing that sticks out to me, and I don't have that 30 available, but Patrick Cantlay sticks out there. Like so Cantlay and Xander should be tied together, like on the odds board every week. So if they should really split the difference between the two of them, and they should both be like 24 to 25-1, just blanket that every week. Xander is too high. Cantlay is way too low this week to be all the way down there. But, Patrick said he had Travis said he had a nasty breakup and that fucked him up for the Masters. So who knows? I'm not going to bet him. But I took Neiman at 33 was my bet. I think that he's playing in such great form right now. Love that he's picked up driving distance, like 7th or 8th on tour right now in distance. PGA Tout, who I see here is in the chat. I read his article this morning. He's on my man Zalatoris. I'm on him too. Top 15, you need to be in driving distance has proven to really compete here. Will Z, 33-1. Got it in early. I'm all over that. Neiman, I actually got at 42. So those are my two plays kind of in the middle. I feel good about both of them.
You know what's going to happen, dude, is Zalatoris is going to win. And Finau, Tringali, they're going to be like, so
second, third, fourth.
Yeah, no, but they're going to be like, they're going to see him in the locker room like, congratulations,
you
guy. I was like, yeah.
How do you do it? I know.
Either way. I hope Zalatoris has to go through the pain and suffering that Finau has had to go through and that Tringali's had to go through. But either way, we can go to the 40s. We're going a little long. I'm sorry this is going long, but do you have any interest in Homa or Im?
Nope. Homa, yeah, I do, but just not at that number. He's starting to get to the point where it's too low to bet for me, but playing great. Don't have any interest in Sung Jae right now. Travis mentioned Brian Harman, which was interesting. I kind of totally glossed right over him, forgetting that he had a win here, but 121st in driving distance, I don't think is enough to that's something big for him to overcome this week. He's going to have to really putt the daylights out of it. I don't think he has it. So I really have not a lot of interest in this entire sort of middle of the board. What about you?
Okay. I mean, I like Bubba for the distance factor.
Mm-hmm. That's the one guy I looked at. I looked at a little bit of Bubba. I thought about Matt Wallace down there even just because he's been so phenomenal, like off the tee and tee to green very recently. And I think this place would set up to lend itself very kindly to a player like him. What about Stewart, man? Like, that's a crazy number for him, but I don't know. Like, I just wonder, like, he's playing so well. He rates out so good in everything, tee to green, ball strike, and he's top 30 in driving distance on the PGA Tour right now. He's like fucking 47. Like, I don't know.
He have
like
two wins this season.
He does. Like, he's like, I don't know. Like, we're he's down there at 75-1. I don't know. I feel like he could make a decent top 10 bet, but.
No, yeah, do that. Top 10 on Stewart Cink. Stewart Cink is better than you think, is what I like to say, because everyone thinks he's good. But at the same time, I'm not going to do any of these names. Come on.
No, I don't. I got two long shots that I'd rather take that I think are have just as reasonable a chance as any of these guys. And I think it's like you said, I'm going to probably pick one or two more, and I think it's a top of the board week. I really do.
Right. Yeah, I think JT or Bryson or somebody, even Rom, spoils it, and then we're all like, oh, cool. Great. What a waste of time.
Right.
But I still think that if you were going to try to do one of these 60-1 names, and maybe you don't like Bubba or Brian Harmon, you could do Jason Day. That is a risk maybe worth willing to take because he has won here. And Jason Day shows up and he's the best golfer of all time, or he withdraws. So we don't know what we get. And at 60, that's fair.
I know. He's just no longer – and actually, like, the irons and the driver have been pretty good. And even the short game, he's no longer making anything on the greens. Like, he just doesn't make birdies anymore. Like, I've bet him a couple times and watched him, and it's very frustrating because it seems like he has a lot of, like, 13 feet for birdie and just is not coming through with those opportunities. So,
which is basically how he made all his money on tour.
Exactly how he made all his money was drilling 10 to 25 foot putts like when he needed them, and he hasn't been able to do it. So, but like you said, if there was a get right spot for him, place where he's won before, place where he's won recently, this may be his most recent win. I'm not sure, but 2018 was it? I want to say, I don't know if he's won since then.
He won API, didn't he?
Okay.
I don't know. I can't remember. Either way, I do know that Ricky Fowler is 80-1 on a course that he enjoys. Is this the get right spot for Fowler? Can he be the one that has used to ride the 15-footer? Is he going to – how has his putting been?
Okay, so I don't know. I actually did not factor in putting at all this week, but I can pull it up here.
But I just assume that
his ball striking sucks. His par 4 scoring sucks. His approach from 175 yards and beyond, which a lot of the approach shots come from this week, is just about dead last in the entire field. And his putting, and he's losing an average of 1.3 strokes putting over his last 10 tournaments, which is
there you go,
insane for Ricky Fowler. So it's all been bad. No way you can bet him. No way. This
is a true test of course history on Ricky Fowler. If Ricky Fowler shows up and he's good, because I do a tweet each Monday morning using Fantasy Nationals stats and stuff like that on course history, and he shows up as one of the best guys over the last 5 years. 5 -1 -2 because there's 2 years. So maybe all those stats are coming from like 7 years ago when he was a good Ricky Fowler. I don't know. Either way, you got Ricky Fowler. He's at 70, he's 80 somewhere. And now here at the sports book, you got Harris English, Lucas Glover, Harold Varner, Matt Jones, Carlos Ortiz. Who are your names that you bet as long shots? Because I got a couple names.
Okay, I got 2 guys in triple digits this week. The first is Harold Varner III.
Okay.
So,
well, he's 90 here. Where'd you find him at? 100?
He's 100-1 on Bovada. Yeah.
Got it. Nice. Okay.
Anyways, he's second at the Heritage. This is his region. This is his home. He lives in Charlotte. This is his home course. I don't know about his course history here, but I just feel like confidence coming in, 100-1. Big number. Do I expect him to win? No. So I'm going to top 10, top 20. The other guy, and I see Corey alluded to it here. You damn right, Corey. It's Cam Davis time. Back on a Bombers track, back at 150-1. I can ignore all the stats and just know that he's that number on a Bombers course. I'm taking Cam Davis. Yeah, I'm in. Those are my 2. That's all I got.
No, that's kind of fun because we like to take names that you like to take. And Joe, you didn't mention a guy that's also from North Carolina, Dr. Redmond.
Oh, I know. I can't do it. But
200?
but somebody was telling me that he was driving
Chad
it.
style?
Okay, I can maybe do the Chad style. But he was telling me that Doc drove it great last week.
He was there.
I don't know about that, but yeah, he was there. He made the cut, and I don't really know much else to say about him. But yeah, maybe
did he think he could win?
Maybe Doc. I don't. I think he's like a top 20 bet, like max. You can probably get like
top 20,
7 plus 750 plus 800 on a top 20, maybe. I think that's the spot for him. I just don't think that he has to have everything clicking to win an event like this, as do the other guys that I mentioned. So if you feel like taking him, take him. I'm just not on it right now.
We did talk with Mike Miller at Smart Golf Bets at the beginning of when we started this podcast, and he definitely touts recent form. So he'll just look at the leaderboards over the last couple of weeks. He doesn't care about stats because the freaking result bakes in their performance and statistics, is what he says. And he may look at now, last week, Vaughn Taylor emerged. Could this be the beginning of the summer of Vaughn Taylor? Could he do it?
I don't think so, dude. But I saw that Jock Market tweeted out that he was the big winner at ROI last week, which was fun. But
he likes it here.
I just think he's way too short. I think you got to.
So then what you do is you go back to Vaughn Taylor on Jock Market.
Okay. See, these are types of guys that you can get for like $2-3 on Jock Market that have upside. Am I going to take an outright on him to win? No, but if you take him for $2 to $3 on Jock Market, he finishes say 46th. You like double your money. So these are great. That's why we love the app. That's why it's awesome. That's why you can have fun with these guys that are long shots a little bit more on there.
Let me tell you a story quick about my Sunday afternoon. The tournament's over, and I had a good week. I had a few things that almost got good, or if Patrick Reed would have made the cut, maybe I would have made more money. But then, I'm texting Martins. I'm texting him out, and did okay, whatever. And he's like, "How'd you do on Jock Market?" And I was like, "Holy shit! I totally forgot to look at the Jock Market what my results were." I mean, I was paying attention, but I didn't see now that they pay out or whatever, there's no fee involved and they pay you money. And I was like, oh, damn, dude, I did my best work on the Jock Market out of everything I did. So, boom.
How many shares of Burns did you have?
10.
Sweet.
Bingo, bango, bango.
$250.
You don't even need these winners. You can pick the Phenows. You can pick the Xanders. You can pick the Tringalis on the Jock Market, and you can still come away with money. And that's probably what I'll do. Wednesday night, as the IPO closes, I'm going to be in the room with Joe and Rick talking, chatting along, power hour. Do it then. It's fun time, actually. So
it is.
There you go. We did it under an hour. Do we need to talk to you about, we had a few people in here chatting with some questions. Now there was one, Jesse.
Sure, let's answer a couple of questions and get
Jesse says, "Hey, Joe, are you building models? Do you build a custom model on Fantasy National?" I used to do this religiously, but I kind of don't do it anymore.
I do every week for sure. Jesse, you're asking how many stats do I plug in? It changes. This week, 1, 2, 3. I have my model up right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things. So I weight them anywhere from 20 to 7%. I go down this week. I put much more of an emphasis than I typically do on recent. So I'm going like last 12 rounds, just because I feel like that it encapsulates like the last 6 to 8 weeks for a lot of these guys. Like Rory, for instance, we haven't seen him since the Masters. And then before then, we don't even have stats from the Masters. So you're going back to pre-Masters. Like, when did he play in Florida? I don't even know. Like, he didn't play Honda. He didn't play Bay Hill, did he? He might have played Bay Hill, but then you're going all the way back. So let's say he did play Bay Hill. You're going all the way back to then for like your last 4 rounds for Rory. So like, I don't want to look way deeper than I normally did this week. That's just what I went with. But 6 to 8, I plug those in. I run a model, see what it spits out. I don't take it as religion, but I use it to break ties if I'm in between guys.
I interviewed Moose, the man who created the website, fantasynational.com, and I talked to him about the same thing. And I said, how many I used to put like 16 in there. I used to do this and that. And it's like, it kind of like contradicts itself a little bit, where you're like around the green and putting and like, or whatever. You can kind of redundant yourself. He will say, just play around with there and then spit. Play around, spit out the result. Play around, spit out the results, and then just kind of like see who is always up the top. See, weight the things, scan the things, and it's more of a fluid model than like 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. Run. Yeah. This is the answers. Make lineups. No, just spit it through. It's kind of fun. Fiddle around, play with it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? All right. And then if you want to sign up for the Jock Market, use our promo code PL10. If you haven't done that, you are a fool because it's so much fun and I'm actually making money. It's way better than DraftKings. And do you ever put money on long shots as first round leader bets? I don't.
I don't do first round leader bets. No, I don't.
First round leader is like the straight up truest roulette of all roulette. Like, sorry.
I don't know. I kind of have a little bit of a hot take on first round leaders. I feel like it's more random. It's harder to predict one round. It's like single round matchups. Mm-hmm. I don't do either. Like if I do a couple matchups, but it's a full tournament because I feel like if you're going to try to predict something, things are more likely to shake out the way they should over 4 rounds than 1 round. Anything can happen. And I kind of feel like people throw out a lot of first round leader bets to kind of like up their card so it looks like they hit a lot of winners. But if you throw 8 outright bets and 8 first round leader bets, you're going to hit double the winners. You know what I mean? So it looks good on Twitter. It looks good on all these things. And I don't know. I don't do it. I find it too random for me.
I did win Rose first round leader at the Masters, which is cool. And that's the first time I've done first round leader in a long time. Now I did listen to Pat Mayo. Pat Mayo mentioned, because Pat Mayo is a big first round leader guy. Like he touts first round leaders. He has said, the market for first round leaders is getting smaller and worse for the better. So like the 80 number that he used to get is now 66.
Well, you usually get chopped anyways too. There's a lot of times like if you do have a 66-1 guy, you're chopped down to 33-1. Like I'd rather bet Joaquin Niemann to win at 33-1 this week than Keegan Bradley first round leader split. I don't know. Just me.
If you're into first round action, you want the action of the first round. Buy them on the Jock Market and then just sell them right at the end of the day on Thursday. Or do the first round showdown on DraftKings. I don't know. That's my suggestion. Either way, this has been a long pod. Thank you for watching. If you like and subscribe and rate and review, that helps us. And we will play the music and get us out of here. Travis Fulton is the man. He gave away a couple of lessons. If you DM Joe or I or the Preferred Lines account on Twitter, and we will get you hooked up somehow with that winning. So congratulations.
I have the names here. I'll make sure to put you guys in touch with Travis and make sure that
our guy Brian, he's on the podcast that I was on last week. It's the Fairway to Heaven. Fairway to Heaven, I think it's called. Either way, Brian's the man. He was almost won big dollars last week.
What up, Brian?
Either way, thanks for watching. We'll be back next Monday. I'll be live Wednesday, and so will Joe. We're always making content. Or you can follow us on Twitter. He's at Tour Picks. I'm at Edina Realchi, and that's us doing this thing. Thank you for watching. Peace out.
Peace.